watching Stitch, best Cutman in Philadelphia. Hope you don't need him.
Pleasure.
It is kind of a crazy resume, and things just happen.
Here's what I want you to do. I want you to throw your left under the radar. And someone come up.
I call him $1 million line.
All right, welcome to the UFC. Huh?
Thank you.
Welcome to the UFC. Damn. UFC let me go for speaking out about the Reebok deal. I was making more money through my sponsors than I needed the UFC to get money from my sponsors.
So that would be fine if Reebok was paying their fighters adequately.
Adequate. Yeah. The key word was adequately, you know. Yeah. And, you know, for the most part, we would get paid probably less than the Green Girls.
Stitch Duran and I were never friends. We were work associates.
Nah, you know, Stitch and I were never friends and this and that. And if you were friends, you should have called him. That whole bullshit, right? I said, all right, you do me a favor. You tell Dana I said he ain't got no balls, that he should have called me personally since he's the one that brought me in. Anthony Josh is a very, very good fighter when it comes to the basic fundamentals of fighting. But Tyson Fury, like I say, he's like water. And his whole thing is you can't read him, because once you think you read him, he changes.
Welcome back, listeners of In the Booth podcast. Today we have a very, very special guest that I'm very excited to talk to. He's seen it all. You know, become a household name in the world of boxing and combat sports. It is Stitch Duran, who is the Cutman in boxing. He's even worked the UFC, and he's been the corner of people like Miguel Cotto, Andre Ward, the Klitschko brothers. Now, more recently, Tyson Fury, and actually last weekend you were in Devin Haney's corner.
Yeah,
and even. Become such a household name that he's featured in several movies as well as himself, such as Here Comes the Boom, Rocky Balboa, both Creed films. So quite the resume, and I'm excited to talk to you. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks. Yeah, it is kind of a crazy resume, and things just happen. You know,
yeah.
So I've been one of those people that you say are blessed. That's me.
Yeah, and I'm trying to, I'll talk to you and see, like, was it all by chance or was it all, planned? And it's funny, like, I'm always a proponent of that. As long as you're doing good to people and like putting your service out there, just helping people out, eventually like things will pay themselves back, and and opportunities come from any corner. And I guess you're proof of that.
Yeah, that's a good example. Nobody's ever really given me that analogy. But there's a lot of truth to it. I believe in, like you, in the karma and the good, you give out, you get good energy and all that. And but everything that's happened to me, to this point, I've never asked for one job. I'm just, it happens, but I always give back, and that's the thing about it. And, I never forget where I come from. I grew up in a small town of 1,500 people. We're all, farm workers, that's what we did all our lives. So, that's my character, and that's the character I want to always keep.
So you had the farm worker background, the hard work background just was instilled in you. It wasn't really like an extra effort that you had to do. It was just in you.
Yeah. I was born into it. I didn't have many choices, right? So, but I knew no difference. There's a picture when my mother passed that she had in her drawer where I'm 15 years old and my little brother Ernie's 12 years old, and we're in the wintertime, we're cutting the grapevines about like this and put them in stakes of 200 and for the next season, those are the stakes that you plant, and that's how you get your grapevines. But it's the wintertime, and my little brother's like this, smiling, right?
Yeah.
And there's a bus behind us that took us to work and all that. So it just showed that, through hard work, it was not hard work when you're out there having fun. And that picture right there is very inspirational, especially when he's like this,
Yeah.
So
it's quite a fighter's stand as well.
Well, exactly. Yeah, of course. So that's always been our struggle. One way or the other, we've always, we're always the underdogs, and we always prevail. So.
Well, you see, like fighters always coming from backgrounds like that. You have a lot of these fighters that say, "Well, we had to fight to survive, and that's how we got into it and stuff." How did you? Was it that combat sports boxing was so big in those communities?
No,
back in the day, or no?
not at all. No, not at all. It was not.
How'd you get into it?
Well, it was non-existent. I grew up. American baseball is what our community, we played baseball all the time.
Yeah.
Right. And but in 1972, I joined the Air Force. I was in the military, and I told myself if I ever went to the Orient, I'd like to study the martial arts. That was now 1972. You weren't even born, right? But that was the Bruce Lee era, right? And,
right.
But they sent me to a place called Utapao, Thailand, and being a young kid, I didn't even know what the hell Thailand was. And but I had friends that were already stationed there, and they invited me to my first Muay Thai fight in downtown Banchan, and I liked it. So on the base they had Taekwondo for the GIs, the soldiers.
Nice.
And but Taekwondo, Thailand, to me as a young, dumb, naive kid, is the same. So of course we started. Yeah, Thailand, Taekwondo, same thing, right?
I didn't know. Taekwondo with a TH, the Taekwondo. It's a different thing.
Exactly. Yeah. So young kid. So you understand, right? So for 3 months, we trained Taekwondo, and which really benefited us because of the kicks, right? The more of the agile and the flexibility and all that. And the Koreans left, and then the Thais took over the program, and they kind of transitioned us, but kept a lot of the Taekwondo techniques. And so that's for that whole year. That's what I ate, slept, and dreamt that, and got back to the States and got into boxing just to improve my hands. And from there, I started training amateur boxers, and then I opened up my own school of kickboxing with just a credit card, as crazy as I was, right? Yeah. And then from there, my career started. But I was training a lot of fighters, in kickboxing, and that's how I got my experience as a cutman and as a trainer, because did a lot of fights with them. So
students needed to get treated,
Yeah, a bit. So, when I moved to Vegas 26 years ago, Nick, I came only with the assumption of being a cut man, because in kickboxing, I was already A-level as a cut man, right? And of course, I worked with a lot of champions in kickboxing. But when I moved to Las Vegas from the Bay Area, Northern California, I didn't come to be a trainer because I thought all the great trainers in the world were here in Las Vegas, the boxing capital of the world. But I saw what they did, and I could do that, and I could do that. And being that I had a job, I couldn't be a full-time trainer. I couldn't give you 150%, but they would hire me to do hand pads. But I've done pads for Mike Tyson. Just a lot of fighters would hire me, so I'd kind of leave work and a couple hours a day, do pads with them, and then go back to work, right? So, and then, but being a cut man just kind of floated to the top.
Awesome, yeah. Well, it's a thing that probably you thought, like, I stand out in this. Because it's a thing that you thought you stood out in. You were just like, that was, because there were probably a lot of trainers, but not as many cutmen or people that were actually passionate about it.
Yeah, you're right. There was, keep in mind at that time, it was only boxing. Right? Yeah.
I was going to ask, because kickboxing isn't that big in the States, is it?
It's real big, actually.
It is. Because, well, I mean, we're in the Netherlands here.
Oh, you're talking about kickboxing?
Kickboxing, kickboxing.
No. I mean, Holland, the Netherlands. That's the second home of kickboxing.
For me, so it's funny you said Taekwondo background. I have a Taekwondo background. And I also did boxing to do the hands, to improve the hands as well. Actually, when I was signed up to Taekwondo, it was my parents that wanted me to learn self-defense. So I grew up in the Middle East, and they wanted me to be able to defend myself in school, stuff like that. But I thought I started getting a love for boxing then, and realized just how much you're missing in terms of hand movement, because you do get the punches in Taekwondo, but it's like, what is it? It's these two straights, And I remember like the first when I really got into it was around the Pacquiao De La Hoya time. That's when I was really like that's insane, because they were building up De La Hoya. I was like, the media was putting it out as he is the guy, and you have this smaller Filipino guy coming in to fight him, and he got dismantled. So that was impressive to me, and I started getting in working my hands. But when I moved to Holland for university, there was no, like, boxing is now actually growing here, but it wasn't big at all there. It's everything was kickboxing, and the kicking is a lot different than it is in Taekwondo, and so I had a hard time finding just boxing, but I guess that makes the community smaller and tighter. Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny you bring that up because when I left Thailand, I was still in the military and I was stationed in South Dakota. So I'm in the gym, kind of working on my own, and there's a karate class there. I think it was Kempo Karate or something like that, and we became friends. So I joined a karate tournament with them because there was kickboxing was for the most part non-existent in the States. It was in very few places, but I wasn't even familiar with it. So I joined the karate tournament just for the hell of it, and I fought 3 guys, and I think I did a total of 5 kicks. And one guy, that was it. And I put him out, and one guy says, "Hey, man, you're kicking too hard." But I couldn't understand that because, well, in Taekwondo or karate, it's points, right?
Yeah.
Bam! But yeah, they for the championship, I guess the championship you call it, I did a stepping side kick, the Taekwondo move, and hit the guy in the rib and threw him out of the square circle. And just like the Karate Kid, you got to get on your knees and face away from your opponent until he gets better. And so he got better. And the second technique was a roundhouse right in the same spot. And that's how I beat him, but that was it, so yeah.
But it was for the knockout though.
My guy says, "Hey man, you're kicking too hard." And I couldn't understand the philosophy behind that, but it was a great learning experience. And, that kind of influenced me to go further and learn as much as I could in all combat sports. So, and here I am talking to you.
Yeah, all the way across the world. So it's interesting because it makes more sense why you're also just interested in working for MMA. Are you still under contract with Bellator, or?
No, that was well, what happened with the UFC, right? Or you probably don't.
Yeah.
Ask a question. That's fine.
Well, that's coming up. Absolutely.
And Scott Coker, when I had my school of kickboxing, was the promoter that promoted the majority of my fighters' fights. So I've known Scott for 30, 35 years. So he brought me on board, but then Orsat Rovko, that managed Krokop, created a FFC, Final Fight Championship, here in Las Vegas, and where they have Muay Thai, kickboxing, and boxing in the same card. And he brought me on board as one of the executives, and we did a year of it, and then this pandemic kicked. But during that time, I told Scott, and he gave me his blessing, and went over there to a new project. So now that the pandemic is coming to an end, I hope to continue, but doing a lot of boxing right now, so that's keeping me busy.
Yeah, it's good. It's all come back, even with crowds. I mean, you got more crowds than UFC is back with crowds every once in a while, but boxing, I feel like every other show, it's there's crowds.
Yeah, well, and starting today, actually, in Las Vegas, it's 100%. So we're back.
That's crazy. Yeah, so the whole. Just your career is back. It's completely back to full.
I've been blessed. I did Top Rank, which is the top boxing promoter in June. They, in fact, it's been a year. So I've done 34 shows with them in the bubble. And then I've done 3 other shows with Triller and these YouTubers. So I've been blessed. So, being under the pandemic, got to work, hang out with friends and do some work and get paid, So so I've been blessed in that department.
Well, I guess let's get into that then. The YouTubers. By the way, do you get paid more on those YouTuber cards as well than you normally would?
It's kind of funny. Basically, I get paid as I would like a championship boxing event.
That is,
So it's.
I would imagine. I mean, they're also getting paid. Well, they're not getting paid as championship boxers, but they're getting paid a lot. They're getting paid more than undercard than let's say co-main events. So
the first one I worked with KSI when he fought Logan Paul.
Yeah.
I didn't know who either one of them were. And KSI trained here in Las Vegas for 6 weeks, but I trained him just like a fighter. I wrapped his hands. I always spoke to him as the mental side, the physical side. So I tried to brief him, and he did a good job. But you're talking about them. We flew from Las Vegas to Los Angeles, 40-minute flight in a private jet, 7 of us. And then they put us up. And then they put us up in a hotel in Beverly Hills I walk in my room and my pillowcases have my initials embroidered. So this,
you get treated like the heavyweight champ yourself.
Yeah, my Instagram accounts, got more followers, and so that's the new generation. And this week, I'm going to Miami. I'm working with Badu Jack. He's an actual boxer. But Mayweather's fighting Logan Paul.
Badu's been taking a lot of but Badu was on the first Thriller event, the Mike Tyson one. he's been taking a lot of these undercards under YouTubers. I guess he seems to be also very aware of the whole social media presence and wanting to reach a new audience, younger audience. You know,
100%, man. At this stage, you know, Nick, everything is marketing 101.
Yep.
You know, you set a platform for yourself, and how do you expand off of it? You know, you got to do it outside of just throwing punches. And Badu Jack is, you know, he's a good kid, and you know, you got to get your word out there. And you know, like these Trillers and all these other shows, they bring me in because of my experience, but also because if they see me in an event, the fans know it's a credible event, and I understand that, you know, and so I understand that. You know,
see, that's what I was about to say. These YouTubers, the reason they bring you in is probably, I mean, you've made yourself such a household name that that's what they're thinking. Like my corner is also part of the mental side towards the opponent. So if maybe the opponent sees which team he has, oh, he has Stitch in his corner as well, he is taking it real. He's taking it seriously. You know, it might be a small thing, but you know, it's just it adds credibility. It says something.
That's a big thing, and I'll give you a behind-the-scenes story. I work with Vidal Riley that from England that trained KSI, but he's also a boxer, and he made his pro debut. The guys in the other corner, I saw him after the fights in the hallway, and the guy says, "Oh, Stitch, can I take a picture with you?" He goes, "Man, when I saw you in the corner, I knew we were going to lose." You know, so you know, so it does have that effect to it, right?
Yeah.
You know, so it just shows the credibility.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But so I don't think it's I've come to terms with that. It's actually it could be a good thing for boxing, the influencers fighting. But I'm always on the fence. I'm wondering, is it the fact that, well, the influencers, of course, bring a new audience, and I don't know to what extent the audience would stick around for real fighters if they're not the online personalities that they're invested in, right? Maybe it's more the MMA names that they're bringing in, that they're fighting, that give credibility to boxing. How do you see it?
Yeah, I think so. Well, you know, this Mayweather and Logan Paul.
Yeah,
right.
That's coming up.
I think next weekend that's where I'll be. But for the most part, it made no sense. How can you get the greatest fighter in boxing against a guy that's 0-1, right? But what really caught the attention of the fans and the viewers is when Jake Paul stole Floyd's cap.
Yeah,
that was it. That exploded that fight. Yeah. Besides that, there was no interest in it.
Yeah, right.
Know? And but that's what I'm saying is when you get into the marketing 101, that was a masterful move on. You know, both these Logan and Jake Paul brothers are making a lot of money exploiting these athletes. Not exploiting them, using them, you know, but these athletes are getting paid some money. So bless their heart, so it's good. And then not only that, but like Triller and The Zone, they work on subscription. So all these fighters that YouTubers that come in, they got their fans are locking into subscriptions. And I knew it was different because the KSI fight, usually when we walk into the dressing room, we'll put our stuff down and then the team will go to ringside and then we'll determine this is your position, here's what you do. But I knew it was a different world with KSI and Logan Paul. I'm walking out with Vidal Riley, the coach, and Leon, the coaches. Everybody knew them and nobody knew me. You know, so that kind of told me I was in a different world.
Even though you had, I remember you had Billy Joe Saunders on that card, you had Devin Haney on that card. So, and I look into the crowd. Did you see, like, I mean, you've been there personally, but I mean, on the broadcast, it looked like the crowd looked so much different than a normal boxing crowd. Just had all these kids with, there were so many phones out. There was too much color in the terms of like clothing. Like you had a lot of yellow, a lot of red, which is not, I don't know why, but it just stood out that it was a completely different crowd from even when you look at it from far. So talk to me about the growth of MMA and specifically the UFC. Now I understand that, of course, because there's this one very dominant organization, the UFC, close second is Bellator, that they have all the best fighters under their wing. It makes it easier to make those big, massive fights. Seems like they're coming every month, you know, these huge fights. And politics in boxing just completely gets in the way of making those huge fights, and it goes at the cost of an audience. I feel like the boxing audience is older, you know, and I feel like the younger kids are a lot less into it now. But how would you? I was gonna ask this later, but let's go for it now. I was gonna say if I give you like Dana White kind of money, and you've been in the business for such a long time, so you have an understanding of where it's going wrong, I suppose. But you had the condition to with that money, bring boxing up to par with MMA, what is your first order of business?
To organize the fighters, either an association or a union, get them all on the same path. Education, is to give these fighters. That's an excellent question. Excellent question, and these are things that for the longest time have been talked about, but nobody's really taken that step forward. But education is number one. Years ago, 20 years ago, when I've been in Las Vegas like 26 years ago, I put a documentary together called Boxer's Nightmare, and it deals with all the headaches that the fighters go through, right?
Yeah.
And but real quick, I interviewed Mike Tyson, one of the guys in the video, and a week before he got his tattoo. And I said, Mike, every fighter has that one little thing that nobody in the planet has. What's that one little thing that it takes to be a fighter? And very simply, Mike Tyson says, take the pain. You have to take the pain. And as I broke it down, he was so true, because it's pain in training. There's pain in the fights. There's pain with your family. There's pain financially. So it's not a bed of roses. So how can we make it better? The whole thing has always been is let's get these guys organized through some association and give them something to, let's say, they go to this website. The website will tell you, for management, how are you going to pick a manager? Well, the rules say that a manager cannot get more than 33 1/3%. But a lot of these managers will tell the fighters that are naive that I'll be your manager, but it's going to cost you 33 1/3%. So I can understand if a fighter is paying a manager 33 1/3%, if that manager is subsidizing this fighter's career until he makes the money. Right. That I understand. But if you, as an agent or as a manager, just make a phone call and get this guy some fights, you're not entitled to 33 1/3%. That's an overkill. You're entitled to 10 or 15%. Yeah. So I always, why not? That's the fees of an agent. And if you're just going to make a phone call, you're an agent. If you're going to supply this guy with income and support him all the way through his career, then you're entitled to that. You make your money on the long run. So that's one of the things. Health issues for these guys. They're the bare knuckle fighting championships now are creating here in the States. It's a new sport. Yeah, old sport, but it came back. But they're creating a pension plan, and it's the first time it's ever been done ever. So there's a lot of improvements. I always say fighters in all combat sports, they're all modern day gladiators, and that's how they're being treated as gladiators and as racehorses. And so that's how I would start putting a program together if I had all this money together. So is you got to help them, but education is number one. It
is mostly financial.
Yeah,
I mean, I have another theory. Well, no, it's not a theory, but what they see, the media side of things. I don't know if you make these huge fights happen. Of course, obviously, naturally, people will be drawn to it more. If I show, because when I show MMA fans who aren't really into boxing, show them some of the great fights there, they're baffled at the level of the hands and how much better it is actually than MMA fighters have. Yeah. So there has to be a way to promote these smaller fighters and these personalities, to come out. The organizations, the networks behind them have to really start promoting them instead of only focusing on those champions and those big names, I think. But I just don't know how you're going to go about it if these smaller fighters, characters, also aren't fighting each other, because of the politics, because of all that. So tricky situation.
Yeah, I understand that. And one of the good things about me is I worked corporate America for 23 years. So I understand a lot of the business aspect of what it takes to run a business. And these promoters and these networks and all that, for them, it's a business. Yeah. They're all, these fighters are all numbers. How are we going to maximize our numbers with this personality? Why would we invest X amount of money on you that's just up and coming, but nobody knows who you are and you're not going to sell no tickets? And, at this point, that's why it's important for you to learn how to market yourself. You see what I'm saying? So that's the hard part of the game. I remember with the UFC, when I first started, there was 15 people on staff. And, the old thing is, Dana, when we make money, you make money, you know. And at that point, we were names. And then as they got bigger and bigger, everybody became numbers. And that's part of the corporate structure.
Yeah.
So that I understand.
Yeah, there are definitely there are drawbacks in that sense. Because that's what I was explaining to my casual friend the other day. When I look at the fight purses in UFC, like of course the top fighters make nothing, a fraction of what the boxing names make, you know. But overall, if you look at the mid tier, I suppose, and then the lower tier, absolutely the MMA fighters are making more.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
even then, these people on the roster are still making nothing actually. Especially for the damage they're taking.
Yeah, no, I agree, and that's why, you know, in MMA, they've been trying to put Randy Couture, Vanderlei Silva, Leslie Smith, all these people have been trying to get unions, associations.
Yeah.
But here's where the problem lies, Nick, is you are a fighter that's coming into the UFC, you know, it's the best to be at the UFC. That I understand. But you're thinking of yourself instead of thinking of the long run of other people's careers. You know, how can you build this program, we as a team? So everybody, as they are independent contractors, also look at it that way, that, you know, I got to take care of myself before I take care of a group. And that's why it's important to have a strong organization that will give these guys an incentive to work together as an association. And then that way you could go on and negotiate. And you're right, these guys that are the main eventers are getting peanuts compared to what boxing is getting. And you see the profit margins, the difference, the percentage that the UFC gives these guys opposed to what boxing gives these guys. It's a big discrepancy. So that needs to be improved.
I feel the big thing is also that in boxing it's personality based. It's the individual who's being promoted and marketed, and they are the face. If they leave, the organization can be dead. Certain names. Tyson Fury's with his Top Rank.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
And let me add real quick with this. You know, the problem with not having an association of people to back you up. George St. Pierre, during these YouTubers, was going to fight Oscar De La Hoya.
Yes.
Right? He's been retired for the most part, but he's still on contract with the UFC. So Dana says he can't fight, which is bullshit. You know,
it is.
It gives him an opportunity to stay in the light. It makes the UFC look good. You know, George makes a little bit of money. What's the problem with that?
Do you think Dana? I think Dana is still hung up on the fact he's just wishful thinking that Khabib comes back and he can make that fight happen. Maybe that's the thing. But still, I agree with you. Exactly. What I was getting at is the UFC has done it. It has promoted themselves to the point that it's the organization that people are looking at, not necessarily the names, because there are so many. That explains why John Jones, even Dana stated, I don't know if he literally said this, don't quote me, but he said, you're not that important to us. And this is the best fight, or at least he has the best record, well, aside from best active fighter, best record there is.
Hey,
and everybody wants to see him fight Francis. So
he also said Stitch and I were not friends. So, you know, welcome to the world. And real quick before you're talking about Tyson Fury, I was doing a Top Rank show, and Luis, I can't remember his last name, one of the top Brazilian trainers, works with Anderson Silva and all these guys. He had a boxer, and I hadn't seen him in a long time. And during lunch, he comes up to me, he says, Steve, he goes, we, the coaches, the fighters, we want to thank you for speaking up because we could not, you know. And I thought that was very, the best comment I've gotten from anybody.
Oh, I have gotten some
this is years
for
later.
you as well from fighters as well. Spoke to a couple of fighters who saw you were coming on and said, you know, well, they knew we were going to talk about this as well. And they were just really thankful. They're like, oh, such a cool dude. You know, it's a shame what happened. There's a lot of love coming your way from them. So, and I understand it sucks because they can't speak out, of course. They can't, you know. Yeah. So, what happened? So, okay, I know how you go. Well, explain, actually. How did you meet Dana White? How did you get the job first? And then what happened?
All right. So you want to start from square one. Yeah, I knew Dana in the gyms. You know, he was saying he was in boxing, but you know, he was doing hand pads for executives and for the wives. And I don't think I ever saw Dana work a corner, you know, in all fairness, right? But I was in there training, working with fighters and all that. So I knew Dana. And in all fairness, you know, he was friends with Lorenzo and Frank Fertitta that bought the UFC. And but I was doing a K1 at the Bellagio. I think Bob Sapp was fighting Chemo. And Dana was in the audience, and he said, "Hey man, give me your card." So next day he calls and said, "Look, we bought the UFC and want to know if you're interested in being a Cutman."
Wow.
At that time, it was only Leon Tabs, which was the original veteran Cutman from UFC #1. They brought him on board. And I got to give Dana credit, Nick, for that. He saw the vision that MMA was such a new sport. The coaches didn't know how to wrap hands. They didn't know how to work cuts. So they brought in Leon and myself, boxing people, right? So that I got to give him credit for. And he did change my life in that. So we put that program together, the one that everybody uses now. So, eventually we brought in 5 guys per show. It was that busy because everybody wanted me to wrap their hands. I couldn't do everybody's hands, right?
Yeah.
Stitch, can you wrap my hands? And Stitch, can you, I do 7, 8 guys in one night, right? So finally we brought in Don House. And so anyway, that program we put together and, it was good, and then we were working on sponsors. Everybody was working on sponsors. Fighters were making 50, 100,000 a fight. They were making more money through sponsors than they were through the fights. I was making more money through my sponsors than I needed the UFC to get money from my sponsors. And, for the most part, we were getting paid probably less than the ring girls. But nonetheless, I would get a sponsor. Let's say I get Bad Boy or Zions, then I would negotiate for the, Don House and Leon Tabs and get them sponsorship. So I was always the leader, and they took the sponsors away from everybody. Of course, that, and everybody's effing Dana, effing UFC, effing Reebok. And
so that's when Reebok came in. As soon as Reebok came in, it was finished.
Yeah, it was all exclusive. So they took everything away from everybody.
So that would be fine if Reebok was paying their fighters adequately.
Adequate. Yeah. The key word was adequately. Let's say you have 20 fights total and 3 in the UFC, you only got $2,500, which is embarrassing. But they got all the Cutmen together and they told us that, couldn't use no sponsors. So I always, of course, I tried to negotiate a little bit more income. Yeah. And there was no money in the kitty. And so we left, and I thought, I can't depend on this. But through all this, John Nash from Bloody Elbow, I don't know him, never met him, called me and asked if I'd be interested in doing an interview on how the Reebok deal affected the Cutmen. Well, me going back as a farm worker, my parents were fighting for our rights then as fair practices. And I thought about my parents and growing up as a farm worker. I said, if I don't speak up, they wouldn't be proud of me. So I did. Nice. So the article was, being that I was in corporate America, I knew how to present things in the article. I did like 57 interviews after they let me go. Camera crews come to my house. But a lot of the journalists said, I read the article and you said nothing wrong. No, I didn't. But it was just, I just threw gas on the flame. Yeah. And my friends called me. We were at Costco. My wife and I were at Costco. And they asked if we could talk. And I knew what it was because I'm getting shitload of messages and, positivity and thank you and this and that. And I get home and the only thing they say is, in fact, I just saw him Saturday at the fights, Mark. The only thing Mark said, his voice is cracking, is because we're all friends, right? Yeah. He says, because of the interview you did about Reebok, the UFC is not going to use you no more. And boom, I said, okay. And I didn't want to bust him because he's my friend. And I said, all right, you do me a favor. You tell Dana, I said, he ain't got no balls, that he should have called me personally since he's the one that brought me in. So that was big. Boom. And the first message that I read after I hang up is this guy now, I know is David Estrada. But I responded back to him. I said, look, I want you to be the first to know. UFC let me go for speaking out about the Reebok deal and got to find a new job. And that went viral, bro. And I told you I did 57 interviews in a week. Camera crews come to my house. And then the dust started settling. And 2 weeks later, the UFC has their first big show on Fox Network. And Kevin Bryant is interviewing Dana. And what about Stitch Duran? Is Stitch ever coming back? And Stitch and I were never friends. And
Stitch Duran and I were never friends. We were work associates.
This and that. And if you were friends, you should have called him. That whole bullshit, right? And that that blew up in his face. And it turned out to be to my advantage.
Yeah. Oh, it is. It would be, I was wondering how other organizations can keep up then with the UFC, because there needs to be. So, because look, Bellator, you can get your own sponsors, and I think, am I right in saying on average, the the big names in Bellator will be making more money than, well, not let's not say champions top 5, but the other ranked opponents, the top 10s, will be making more than UFC fighters, including sponsorships in there.
Yes, of course.
Outside of, let's say, the top 5s in every division.
Right.
Big names.
Yeah, of course. Sponsor money is nice money, bro. I'm
Yeah.
telling you. You know, I needed the UFC to make my money through sponsors. And
So do you see, let's say, I keep bringing up Bellator because they're the maybe the second most popular organization. I wouldn't want to say biggest because I think One Championship might be bigger. Do you see them competing? Would it be possible for them to be on the same level, and that would force UFC to make these changes?
you're talking about Bellator being at the same level?
Yeah, Bellator becoming at the same level in terms of viewership, influence. Yeah, because I see them growing. I see them definitely growing a lot more this year, especially.
Well, you know what's happening, which really is, I think, is a good thing, because in all fairness, I don't know very many of the fighters in the UFC now. You know, they're like you were saying, it's about the UFC. It's not about promoting the fighters. Yeah. So you don't get that. Those fighters aren't getting the exposure like they did before. But a lot of these guys that were top names in UFC now are going to Bellator. So that's bringing a lot more eyes and attention, because they were always fan favorites. You know, Shogun, Lyoto, and all these guys, you know. You know, but will they ever get there? I think I don't know if they have the support that they do. The UFC does a great program, and they do a great job, and that I can give them credit for. Yeah. You know, when it comes to business, they are the best at what they do.
Yeah, but that also comes at the cost of, you know, fighter pay as well.
Sure.
Yeah. Well,
but if you're a corporate man, then you would consider that a success.
Absolutely.
But if you were a fighter, you would consider that as an insult. So,
well, a lot of the people on the inside, they always say that the Fertitas are the brains behind the organization. But how big of a role do you think Dana White plays in the success of UFC, and what role does he play?
Well, for the face, definitely the face is him. You know, but the ones that are pulling the strings are Frank and Lorenzo. And like say, I understand corporate America, because what the Fertitas do, they own like 15, 18 casinos, right? And when their father retired, they gave them one. From there, they expanded. And they do a great job when it comes to running companies. But they are non-union. See, all their casinos are non-union, which means that same pattern that they use for the casinos is the same formula that they use in the UFC. So where they're all numbers now.
Yeah, it's all numbers.
Yeah. I mean, that's the process. And did Dana have anything on the business aspect to do with it? Probably not. He's the face. He's the voice. You know. Yeah. You know. And so
I don't know how to do it. I wouldn't mess with fighters too much if I was in his shoes. Like.
But Lorenzo and Frank are the brains by any means, by all means. Yeah. And sharp guys. I got to give them credit for that.
To be expected. Yeah. So what did you? So the Backlash game. You had to rethink what you were gonna do. What happened after you left UFC?
Everything happened, man. My life exploded. You know,
because you have your brand, right? You also have your raps and everything, correct? Is it? Yeah.
Well, I had those during the UFC. You know, when I was using. I remember I was in Brazil one time. I had my stitch tape, right, and the KO swell, and those are available at Cutman for higher supplies. It's Juan Ramirez handles my stuff. But for the longest time, the Cutman, they were using my tape. And I remember we were in Brazil, and Mike Mersch, one of the attorneys, comes to the dressing room. He said, "What the F are you doing with that tape?" I look at him. I said, "What are you talking about? I've been doing this for 3 months." "Well, you got to cover it up." Next thing I know, they have their own UFC tape, right?
Oh, my goodness, yeah.
That's the way it was, you know. So that's the way they just dominated everything.
That makes sense, though, from them, of course. Now I realize, true, it is a sponsorship, essentially.
Well, it's funny because when I started working with sponsors, on my gloves, I would put the sticker of Zions right here, right? I put my gloves on, and then I'd make stickers, peel them off, and I put them there, and it became, because my hands are always here. Yeah. So one of the attorneys says I couldn't do that no more, and I asked him why. He says because it became prime position, and they made me take it off. And shortly after that, they put the UFC on the gloves and all that. So a lot of that came from my ideas in marketing, but that's what I've done. So but it's But I got a lot of calls from. I did Rising when they did their first comeback show, and like say Bellator. Had offers from all over the world. I didn't want to lock down with a group at that time because I wanted to see different programs and different organizations and see if I could improve them or help them and all that. But then Bellator, Scott gave me a good offer, and as friends, we worked together, and that took me to a different level. And movies, got calls to do movies, and
that was after, okay.
Yeah, that was after, and So
it really was. You think it was that media attention from you speaking out that really catapulted your career even further? Because because you were in the media and.
Yeah, of course, and doing the right things. That was the thing. And I mean, like when I did the first Creed movie, right? I go to the premiere. My wife and I go to the premiere, and then we go to the after movie party. Wesley Snipes comes up to me and shakes my hand and says, "Hey, the UFC did you wrong." I said, "Wow, that's Snoop Dogg. I did the last Triller." Snoop Dogg, hey man, UFC, you're OG, man, can I take a picture with you?
Oh, that's
So it did change my life.
That is amazing.
Better.
That shows again, like the just doing the right thing for the right intentions, and I don't know, you're probably hearing those whispers around from fighters that were talking shit about the deals and how it was bullshit.
Oh yeah, right. No, listen, I heard from a lot of fighters, man. Even the time.
So at least you knew that the backing was going to be massive.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I didn't know how massive, to be honest with you, bro. In fact, this same chair that I'm at right now, during that process, I'm getting support from all over the world. Bad Boy, Uriah Faber, they call me. They want to make shirts. Remember at that time, T-shirts were big. They want to make shirts, sell them, and the proceeds go to me. And but Robbie LeBlanc, that does motivational speaking here in Las Vegas every Monday, his motivational speaking that Monday, he says, well, this is about a friend of mine, Stitch Duran, that sacrificed his job for speaking out about what's right. And man, I started crying. I'm listening to that thing, and I just started crying with all this positive energy, right? And my wife walks into the room right here where I'm talking to you, and she looks at me and like, why are you crying? And she saw the same video, and she started crying. So that was the kind of love I was getting, bro, and still getting it everywhere.
Amazing. So how did you get the movie roles? How did those come then?
It just happened.
Just happened. Just a call from someone.
Yeah. You talk about.
You probably don't even remember the name of the person that called you.
Yeah, no, but this one I remember is Here Comes the Boom. So I'm doing a show at the MGM, and there's one guy who wants to take a picture with me, and I said, well, let's take one together. He goes, no, I want to take a picture of you. He goes, I'm Frank Karachi. I'm the director of Here Comes the Boom, and Kevin James wants you in the movie. So bingo, we did it, right? So I got the script, and of course, Boss Rutan, great friend of mine. Love that man. We're
our countryman.
We're working together, but I get the script, and I don't have no lines. And when you do movies, when you get lines, you get what you call residuals, which pays a lot of money. Every time they show the movie somewhere, you get a percentage. So I was thinking, I got to say something, man. But when it was time for me to do my scene with Kevin James, he pulls me aside and he says, Stitch, we got to have you say something. So I'm playing the dumb part, bro. And then finally I said, well, look, man, here's what I tell the fighters. Welcome to the UFC. That's great. Let's do it. So they called me in. Stitch, can't believe
I
you're
remember
working.
that
I'm
one.
a big fan. So I'm working on him. And then right at the end, he didn't know I was going to do this. I go, boom, but welcome to the UFC. And I walk away. So I slapped him like I do fighters. Boom, welcome to the UFC. Everybody started laughing, man. And that was it.
Forcing yourself into residuals.
Yeah.
Exactly, That's a hustle.
I call it.
All right, welcome to the UFC. Huh?
Thank you.
I called him $1 million line.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Welcome to the UFC. Damn.
Do you still get residuals off it?
Yes,
Still,
I just got some from internationals the other day.
Yeah.
So
I watched it. Well, it was on TV recently in Jordan, actually, in Middle East, just to see how far your reach goes in that sense.
No, everywhere. This one was the international residuals were from Sweden, Spain, Germany, got about 5 or 6 different countries. So I know it's being shown worldwide.
That's crazy. I need to get in one of those somehow.
It
just sets you up, huh?
It just happens,
Because the Creed movies, and the Creed 2 was very recent, so that's also going to be one that's going to take, it's going to be a long time. It's going to be in for a long time.
Yeah, and the thing with the Creed is once again, like I say, everything that's happened, I've never asked for one job, Nick. But they call me, and I don't even have to. I've never auditioned. I'm not an actor by any means.
Yeah.
I can play myself good, but I can't act. That I
Just
know.
be yourself.
But but I spent 6 weeks with Michael B. Jordan wrapping his hands every day in the trader. Just him and I and his friend.
Oh, so from how hard did he go with his training? Because I saw like he actually was also taking punches for the filming and the scenes.
Solid, very, very solid. Up around the 5th week, because I spent every day with him, and like I did KSI. I give him my advice and this and that and what have you not. And about the 5th week, I said, look, man, I'm gonna knight you as a fighter because everything that you're doing, you're representing our sport to the highest level. And he did. He took some shots. He gave some shots. And, people don't know. I'll give you a little behind the scenes story is about the 5th or 6th week of filming. It's a Friday shot. I'm finishing up. I'm saying goodbye. And he showed me his knee and it's filled with water, right? Just, you get fluid in your knees, right? Yeah. So he's asking me about it. And I said, man, you got to go get that drained. So Monday he comes back and shows me the video and he went and got drained and felt a lot better, but he knew that I was there to take care of him. And
so you were actually doing a Cutman job on set.
Yeah, well, just through common sense, I've been through enough wars to see.
So you weren't even acting. Even behind the scenes, it was. Yeah.
I was giving him advice as a friend. Go get your knee drained because you got fluid in your knee.
How would he do? Why doesn't he? He should do. Well, he has too much money anyway. But it was he should do one of those celebrity boxing events. He would probably dominate.
He did good, man. I'm telling you, he's an athlete. Number one, he's an athlete, and he did take some shots. And there was one in Creed 2 where he was so exhausted, so exhausted from doing the scene after scene with Drago's son, scene after scene, that he just laid on the canvas, and Steve Cappell's trying to get him up again. Come on, one more, and he's just exhausted, man. I said, Michael, get up, man. I said, look, you got to represent us, man. Get your ass up right now. I pulled him up. He finished the scene, man. Wow. But these guys, they worked hard, literally.
I always wondered to what extent was it 100% choreographed? All of it was just the choreography that we're going over and over again, or was there a lot of, let's say, improv as well with like certain choreographed parts?
No, the fight scenes were pretty much choreographed, and they did
100% of it. The whole thing.
But
okay.
Other parts of the movie were ad lib. Like once again, my name in the script was Marcel, and I figured I got to change that. But when it was time for Rocky, when it was time for Rocky to introduce us to Adonis, he says, "Oh, this is Stitch. He's the best Cutman in Philadelphia." So at that point, I locked in, right? And there was another improv when, if you remember, when Rocky threw up when they're training, he threw up, and Mike or Creed picks him up, and they're walking. And during that scene, if you see, the coaches had just walked out, and it was just Rocky and Adonis working with each other. But we were filming in the second floor of the gym, and because it's snowing outside, the stairs going down, we were hiding behind the stairs away from the cameras, and all of a sudden I hear Stitch. So my thing is to move, to go forward. I said, now maybe it's part of the movie. And it turned out to be that wasn't scripted. But the next day I told Michael, I said, look, man, Michael, I'm not one to kiss ass or anything like that, but that scene right there gave me chills, and I'll tell you why. Because the practicality, if my job is to take care of you as a Cutman. That we had just left. And then you go through this critical moment with Rocky when he threw up, and as you're carrying him, you're looking for salvation, and first thing you do, knowing that I just left, is you called out my name. That was very, very natural, and I thought that was a good piece, and they kept it.
That's a sign of a great actor too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. When the
emotions... the fingers, if you remember the fingers, how many fingers you have. Yeah.
Yes.
The director threw that out. He asked me what I thought. I said, let's do it. And it became part of the movie. People, when I went to the premiere, people started clapping. Yay! So it was pretty awesome.
The powerful moment to be part of such an iconic movie too, because it's the sequel of the Rocky. So for the new generation.
And then let me add is like I said, I was telling Michael during Creed 2, that's 3 years ago, right? How proud I was of him. Tessa, the young brothers and sisters that are up and coming. And he said, Stitch, we went from being actors to writers, producers, and directors. And he looks at me like I'm looking at you. He says, I'm directing Creed 3, and you're with me as long as you want, And I thought that was very respectful on his part.
For life.
So,
yeah.
From what I understand, it's going to be released November of 2022. So when we start filming, I'll let you know.
Awesome. I would love to. Yeah. Keep me posted. Keep me posted. I really enjoyed them. Because I always wondered, like, before the first one came out. Well, Creed first, when someone put it in it was DVDs then that we had. Someone put it in. I didn't know it was the sequel to Rocky, and then I saw Sylvester Stallone. I was like, "This is it." Yes, but then I was also worried because I thought they always go too, they go on too long with these sequels, and then they mess it up. But this was just perfectly done. Definitely needed a second one, and let's see. This one can keep going for another, like this 3 more. Who knows? Yeah.
Well, I think that's what Michael B. Jordan was saying, is that they want to create their own legacy for Adonis, and there's a story to be told there. So,
because I don't know how much of the young generation, I'm pretty sure the kids don't know how iconic Rocky was, and now that eventually will die with maybe with my generation.
Yeah, exactly, like Bruce Lee. How many people in the new generation know Bruce Lee?
Now they made the new one, the new Bruce Lee film. Yeah, but exactly, but they just need a new one, and it still carries the lineage of. You have Apollo Creed.
Yeah.
So you still have to say. So it's still like you can go on for generations. So, and back to real boxing. You are now. I want to talk to you a lot about a bit about Tyson Fury. You're in his corner. It seems like, and correct me if I'm wrong, it might be the corner that you are having the most fun in.
Yeah.
It seems like such a.
You see that video?
I saw the video too. But I just see in general just how his demeanor in the gym, and he has his team around like a family. It's the real Gypsy King, actually, because it's the whole Gypsy lifestyle is very inclusive of community. It's very it's family like. Your friend is your family, and it really reflects to me.
Nah, you know what, man? I've worked so many fights with so many great fighters, personalities, But Tyson Fury is a personality of himself. Literally, he's a super guy and positive energy. And that video that went out when I'm playing the guitar, I'm a little on the quieter side, right? I'm a little too old for this stuff.
But everyone's uncle, I feel.
Yeah. After the workout, Tyson Fury, he loves music. He jams it to rock and roll, and he's jamming like he's just partying. And then Sugar starts playing the drums, and Jorge Capetillo starts playing guitar. And I'm sitting the other side of the gym, and Stitch, come on. I said, all right. So I ran up there, and the girl from Top Rank is filming it. I said, man, don't put that on social media. First thing she did is she put it on social media, and it was cool. But let me tell you about Tyson. When I met him, I walk into the gym, and first thing he does is puts his hand out and congratulates me, and thanks for coming on board, best cut man in the business. And we talk about the cuts that had happened and how I'm going to address them. And then finally I said, look, Tyson, I work with sponsors, and do you mind if I make an outfit like yours, my cornerman jacket like yours, and put my sponsors on it? And he puts his hand on my shoulder. He says, Stitch, you can do whatever you want. Said,
that's what I like. That what I like about him is this, it seeps through that he does not care at all about the whole business side of things. He just said, and that's there was a statement that AJ made that said like he should sign with Matchroom Boxing. We can make him into a star. And first of all, I thought, well, he is already the superstar. I think he is actually more well known in the States than AJ is.
Yes, big time.
But he also said, has it ever occurred to you? Tyson said that I don't care about being a superstar. I just want to be a champion. I want to box. And that just shows in the way he treats the team as well, the way he talks about it, the way he thinks.
Yeah, and and that's the thing about it is his mentality. Because keep in mind, I worked with Vladimir Klitschko when he lost to Tyson Fury, and and I was telling Tyson, I said, well, I think everybody was overconfident looking at you and looking at Vladimir, all very disciplined, right? Mm-hmm. But he beat him, and I couldn't understand why until the next fight when he fought Deontay Wilder, and his defense and his offense was like no other heavyweight. And when I saw him training here, you can't duplicate his style of fighting for a heavyweight. You can't. He's like water. But I got to tell you, Nick, that every second of every minute that he trained, the rounds he trained, and he'd be joking around, but he's moving, and he's always doing something. But he was very, very disciplined in doing that. So
just physically a freak of nature, because he doesn't look like he's supposed to be able to do that.
Yeah, and he don't mind getting hit, and he knows how to hit you. He's very boxing savvy, and that I got to give him credit on.
Did you have a plan for dealing with the cut in case it would happen? It would reopen, because that was my worry. My friend and I, he came over. We really I usually, like, when I'm watching fighters, I don't have that much of a favorite. I watch it for the fight. There's some I like, there's some I dislike, but in the end, I'm not invested in it that much. The first and second, both actually Fury Wilder fights, and not against Wilder or anything. We really wanted Fury to pull it off. We wanted Tyson to pull it off, and one of the worries was Wilder's hand will reopen that cut. Were you? How did you anticipate that? Were you thinking about that a lot, or?
No, well, that's why they brought me in, right? And but that's the first thing I did. Like I said, when we went over the cuts, I looked at them, I felt them, I saw them and all that, and I told him first thing. I said, the doctor that sewed you up did a great job. I said, but here's what we're going to do in the fight: is every round, I don't wait till something happens. I always prepare for worst case scenario, Nick. So I don't wait for something to happen. I said, what I'm going to do, I'm going to keep ice on you every round just to keep the blood flow at a minimum and any inflammation. And I did that, just, and then of course I made sure that, I gave a little extra Vaseline and just kind of did preventive maintenance. But his defense was good enough. And then, when you look at cuts like that, like what happened the last time, I work on numbers. So the probability of that happening again, that same type of cut is pretty slim, right?
Okay.
But nonetheless, you prepare for it, and you prepare for the maximum, and you prepare for any other fight. Over the weekend, outside, I worked with Devin Haney, but I also worked with Jason Quigley from Ireland, another Irish guy. And he came in, he already had black and blue, from sparring, I guess. Yeah. But same thing, I kept, and he never swelled up. So
I watched that one. Did he fight
Shane Mosley?
Shane Mosley Jr. Yeah.
Yeah.
He won. Yeah, that was man, that was a hell of a fight too. Actually, man, I had a good, because I just realized here a few weeks ago that the zone for us for boxing is just €2. Like it's close to like $2 as well. $2.50 per month. I had to take it. Now I've been making good use of it. I bought it for the Canelo Saunders fight. So I did watch. I tuned into most of the undercard. I was impressed. What did you think about? Let's quickly before we go back to Tyson Fury. I wanted your thoughts on round 10. After round 10, when Devin Haney seemed to be wobbled, were you guys worried at all? Because in the end, round 11, he did come out he played it out very smart and recovered. But were you worried?
No, he got buckled, of course. And you always look for moments like that, and how do you regroup them in the corner, right? Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, ice all over the face, and keep in mind the ice will give you it'll change your physical mind of thinking. I mean, you get cold ice on you, it's that it changes your mentality, and then just to keep him nice and calm. But yeah, he took a shot, and I think it was, in the long run, it's going to be good for him, because you can take a shot.
I was going to say it was actually. In hindsight, now it's a very positive thing, and I think he made a statement himself too that he has been tested. Now he's been tested. That's a big test that you have to go through. Maybe because if he has another killer in front of him, let's say Gervonta or something, he might not have come off with that. Like if he had fought differently in round 11, let's say. If
that's going to happen. You're going to get those kind of shots.
You saw that with Ryan Garcia, same division. Against recovering against Campbell. Yeah. That's actually, I must say, like, do you think this is the most exciting division maybe in boxing history that you can remember?
Nah, I don't think so.
No?
These young guys still gotta, they still gotta be the Roberto Durans and the Sugar Ray Leonards and the Tommy Hearns.
Well, no, I mean in terms of competition. Well, I mean you of course you've seen a lot more, but yeah.
Yeah, it's they're all the young stallions. You know, it's like you're.
So I mean, exciting is not the best, but the most. Yeah, there's nobody can say who's gonna beat who. And you have about a 5-horse race, right? So
yeah, pretty much, yeah. So
5 or,
yeah,
it's 5.
So, I'll wait till they mature a little bit more to get back with you on that.
Yeah. Okay. True. Yeah. Because I was thinking the heavyweights are back. Everything. It's the heavyweight division is getting exciting again, and then suddenly the lightweights are proving themselves. Because for me, all of them had to prove themselves, and now time and time again they keep proving themselves more. And I'm thinking this might actually turn into something. And Lomachenko lost his belt. That was a surprise to me. So that whole fight, Teofimo against Loma, I was thinking. Yeah,
I couldn't understand that. I was like 10 feet away from the ring, and I'm waiting for Lomachenko to do something, and it just waited too long. And
that's what I was thinking. I was thinking first 2 or 3 rounds, he's feeling him out. He's downloading his information. By that time, it was round 5. I said, no, I just think he's not capable of whoa, someone solved the puzzle. But to be fair, he came back like in the last couple of rounds and wasn't enough. Too little, too late. But it's great. It's great for the division, I think. Yeah. Going back to heavyweight boxing and Tyson Fury and AJ. So I have a friend of mine who's he's a big AJ fan. Loves Fury too, but he's on the fence. Who am I supporting? To me, that fight unfortunately is not happening yet. But aside from that, I always say, to me, it's 50-50. It was 50-50 about a year ago. And then after watching more and more of him and seeing AJ in his last fight, I'm convinced that it's actually going to be, to me, an easy job for Tyson Fury. Because I feel, and I don't know how you stand on this, and of course I know you could be a bit biased maybe, but I want your opinion anyway. AJ is a great boxer, but Fury is one of those legends that has that legendary Ali, what Tyson had, you know? And to me, AJ is just unlucky to be in the same era as Tyson Fury because he's one of those legendary boxers. He will be one of the best of all time, whereas AJ will be one of the very good ones. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree. You know, when it comes to, and you know, I look at this, I always say that in boxing, in combat sports, the only thing that counts is the truth. We could all be armchair quarterbacks and all that, but I agree with you. When you look at the breakdown on technique-wise, Anthony Joshua is a very, very good fighter when it comes to the basic fundamentals of fighting. But Tyson Fury, like I say, he's like water, and his whole thing is you can't read him because once you think you read him, he changes. Yeah, you know. So I see him as the favorite, no doubt about it.
And he seems to just flow like the whole round is one big motion, one long motion. Whereas
and he's having fun.
Yeah. And just his length, he's just it's his arms are so long. It's it can't get in on him. Yeah, he fights it smart. So that was my thought. Another one. So we're gonna get like a couple of these like your opinions on certain fights that are happening, and then I'm gonna do some fan questions, and then we're good. So Alexander Usyk at heavyweight. What do you think? How do you think he'll fare? Does he have what it takes to beat AJ?
Yeah, I think so. You know, I've known Usyk since before he was a champion and through the Klitschko team, right? And yeah, he can fight, man, no doubt about it. And you know, a lot of times it's not the weight, it's the ability of the fighter, right? And the ability of the fighter for Usyk is he's capable of winning. Is he capable of beating Tyson Fury? That's a little bit harder. You know, the basic foundation of Anthony Joshua going toe-to-toe with the Usyk would be like John Ruiz going toe-to-toe with Anthony Joshua. Joshua's capable of getting hit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah. Yeah, because there was discussion.
Yeah, who would have thought Andy Ruiz would have beat Joshua? But it was technique that did it.
To be fair, I was telling some friends if there's any big underdog you're looking to bet on in boxing, you should bet on him before the fight, and they wish they did. I didn't even do it though, but I told them this is a very dangerous guy, very fast, very powerful. Hard for Joshua to get a read on, especially that it was short notice. That also changed it a bit. So I said, like, you know, if any underdog, you have to bet on him if you're ever gonna pick a big underdog. But yeah, Yeah, no, Usyk surprised me. He took some shots against Chisora, but I think to me that proved also he can take those heavyweight shots and still win. So but let's see. I will look forward to him against AJ. Manny Pacquiao, Errol Spence just announced as well recently.
Yes.
Yeah. Am I
Yeah.
crazy in thinking I feel like I'm the only one that still believes Pacquiao is actually going to do it?
You know, he's capable of doing it. Don't, you know,
Yeah.
I'm kind of
I'm
like
saying
leaning on your side. Yeah.
if the
I mean,
Pacquiao the guy that showed up against Thurman shows up.
yeah, I agree. I think Pacquiao still has some in him. You know, Earl Spence is going to have to box him from the outside for 12 rounds. I don't know if he's going to be able to do that. So I'm with you, man. You know, I think that's a very intriguing fight where people are kind of brushing off Manny Pacquiao, but I think Manny Pacquiao's a live dog.
No, looking at Spence's last fight, I don't see him beating Pacquiao. If Pacquiao is still has Pacquiao in him, which I believe he does.
Yeah, I agree. I think he does. You know, I think he has that one hunger in him. But I remember when his first fight in the United States was at the MGM, and he knocked out a guy from South Africa. I think the guy from South Africa might have been the champion. But at that time, he had a beard on, and that's when all the media were calling him Roberto Duran because of the way he fought and all that. And, you know, from then I became a big fan of his.
Yeah. Awesome. And then Logan Paul Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm tuning in, though. It's, to me, the intrigue is just the fact that I want to see how Mayweather deals with a big guy, knowing he'll deal with him, you know?
Yeah. You know, the thing with Mayweather, I always say Mayweather and Anthony Joshua, you're not going to duplicate. They have their own style that's only designed for them and nobody else. But Floyd, if you remember when Floyd fought that Japanese kickboxer, he played with him. When he fought Conor McGregor, he played with him.
Yeah.
And I expect him to do the same. Floyd is just, he's a horse of a different color, bro. There ain't nobody like him.
Yeah.
And, you know, the thing about it, he's always in the gym.
Yeah.
You know, crazy hours and all that. But he don't drink, he don't smoke. You know, he'll go out and all that, but he's still very disciplined.
Jog back home after a night out.
Yeah.
Okay, you watch? Will you tune in or no?
What's that?
Will you tune into that fight or no?
Well, I'm working with Badu Jack.
Oh yeah, you're working. That's true.
I'll be there.
So you'll be watching. Okay.
Main, so I'm sure I'll see it from the dressing room.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll watch it. Awesome. Okay, I'm gonna get some fan questions. Well, we've actually discussed a lot of these. I'll just take some that we haven't discussed yet. Oh, here's a good one. You once said that of the Klitschko brothers, Vitaly was slightly tougher. Why is that?
Yeah, he still had that Russian tough in him, you know, and that was just that was his personality. And Vladimir was a lot more westernized, working with Emmanuel Stewart and all these guys. Oh, they were both tough, but Vladimir was the guy that would literally be in your face. Vladimir would box you. You know, he'll do it smarter, not harder. Vitaly would do both. Yeah. And the thing I liked about Vitaly is he was a body puncher. You know, he would hit you from a distance, but he'd kind of rip your body and he would destroy people. And I remember he told me, he says, Steve, if you were with me when I fought Lennox Lewis, I would have won the fight. You know, good guys. I love these guys, man. They're the best people I ever worked with. Just classy, first class people.
He was great ambassadors for the sport. Yeah.
Tremendous, man.
What was the greatest fight that you worked on as a cutman?
Had to be Vladimir with Joshua. I mean, I've done a lot of great ones, but what made that one special outside of well, I didn't see Vladimir till the weigh-ins. I was in the island of Crete when my daughter got married Wednesday. So Thursday I flew to London, and I didn't see him till Friday at the weigh-ins in the dressing room. So I'm talking to Vladimir and Vitaly, and finally, once again, psychology is a big thing for me, right? That's why Vladimir, that's why these guys, they appreciate it. But I put my hand on Vladimir and I said, look, don't worry about nothing tomorrow. I'm going to take care of you like you're my son. So I leave because I know fight night or the night before the fight, these guys they can't sleep. They're tossing and turning. They're thinking about the fight. And so I understand. So here we are right before Michael Buffer, number one, walking into the arena with 90,000 Brits is like 150,000 of somebody else. It was loud, 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 and it was buzzing, and just the adrenaline was in. But right before Michael Buffer does the announcement of the two fighters, I'm putting the final Vaseline on Vladimir, and we're maybe this far apart, and he says, "You can call me son." And that gave me chills, bro, because I knew it's powerful. I knew during this moment that I had gotten in his mind. And of course, people don't realize he got cut, but that was never an issue. And
I don't remember that even. Yeah,
you had a nice cut right on the skin level.
I remember that was one fight that some people came over. Sometimes when the fights are in a decent time, because for us it's always a ridiculous time, but that was in the UK. That a lot of people that never watched a fight also joined my friends here to watch that. That was just magnitude, because everybody knew AJ. A lot of people knew AJ was coming up. He was his big name, like I would say the casuals, but everybody knows the name Vladimir Klitschko.
Yeah, and what was great with that is the respect that both these fighters got. And I told Vladimir, it was like the last Rocky Balboa movie.
Yeah,
Rocky fought his last fight. The fans were yelling, "Please go, and then Joshua. That's why now Vladimir and Anthony Joshua are good friends.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be surprised if I see him in the corner with Anthony Joshua. So I don't know, but they're good friends. So I got to give them props for that.
That is amazing. That was gonna see the questions. Well, which fighter do you enjoy working with the most? I guess we answered that. There's a couple. So what? Okay, this one is maybe more complex. What kind of connections and network does a fighter from Europe need to have to reach the absolute top in the sport?
To win.
To win. Just keep
to win, yeah.
Barging through people.
It's that marketing 101, to win, and to be with the right promotion and just, just a combination of everything. Yeah. And but I know what you're saying.
Find a good manager.
European fighters to come and get some exposure here, because it's the bottom line is to win.
Yeah, because how many times you see these names come out of nowhere and they make a good run for it. They might not be champions, but they make a good run for it out of nowhere.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah. What are the differences between being a cut man in boxing and for UFC?
Same thing. A cut is a cut, and the thing, and I'm doing bare knuckle fights also, but MMA, the chances of having multiple cuts are higher than boxing. Boxing, you work one cut, you work two cuts, damn, you're a master. If you work three cuts, man, that's super. And I've done that, but not often. In MMA, that's often. In bare knuckle fights, guaranteed.
Yeah. I don't know how long that sport is going to be around for. I mean, it's pretty exciting to watch, but I mean, every fighter has their hands broken after. They're always, half of them are in a cast when you see the photo afterwards, and I don't know where you see that one going.
Tough.
Well, I mean,
tough guys.
Yeah, exactly. And the last question: what's the biggest mistake you made as a cutman, and also biggest career regrets, if any?
Biggest mistake? Okay, well, I guess I don't know if it was a mistake. It could have been a blessing at the same time. Is one of my specialties wrapping hands, and what I would do is wrap my own hands and put the gloves on and go on the bag and leave them on and make my adjustments. But I was at home by myself one time, and you got the wraps, and I'm cutting them off, and right here my skin turns, and I take about this much off. Oof. And I look at it and I think, oh shit, I'm by myself. And so what I did is I ran to the refrigerator, I got the medication and I put it on there, and I look at it, I still got the scar, not here, but what turned out to be a negative turned out to be a positive, because I consider this a blessing from God, that I did my work, right? Now you're talking about regrets. I don't know if I have any, man. I mean, I've been blessed with so many great opportunities. I don't know. Nothing I could say, I wish I could redo this. I wish I could redo that,
Because everything led to
I've been blessed. Yeah, I've been blessed, man. So
good to hear, man. I hope you stay blessed forever. Stitch, like I'm so happy you came on. Good to talk to you. Great stories. And wish you the best. we'll see you on the screen Saturday. Is there anything else that you would like to promote?
Yeah, well, you're talking about movies. I think in July, I'm kind of about 3-4 months. My wife and I are moving up there to do an MMA movie, Santa Fe, New Mexico, to do a MMA movie. But I'm coming in as a consultant, and I'm looking forward to that. Just another check mark that I wasn't expecting to do. And but during the Creed movies and Balboa and all them, I've always given them my opinion on how to make that as realistic as possible, and they're bringing me in for that moment. So and then waiting for Creed 2, that's coming up. But I have a book, From the Field to the Garden, that I wrote that's available at Amazon.com. And the Fields, being that I grew up as a farm worker, and my goal was to make it to Madison Square Garden, which is the boxing capital of the world. That arena. It's a very classic arena. And now they're turning that into documentary. So got a lot of things going on, man. I've been blessed.
Okay.
But Cutman for Hire, they carry my Stitch Premium Athletic tape, the KO Swell. So those are available there. And I'm working with a CBD company that created a cream for cuts for the healing process. Oh, wow. It has stem cell and has vitamin E and CBD and collagen. We've been using that on bare knuckle fighters and boxers, and the results have been tremendous. So, you get cut, you put the cut cream on you for the duration, and it accelerates the healing process. But that's available at Cutman for Hire Supplies.
Is it accelerated by a lot?
Pardon me?
Is it accelerated by a lot? Like, is it significant?
Yeah, pretty much, man.
I'm very interested in CBD products in general. I'm getting a box from a fighter soon. Yeah.
I'll just say real quick before we get off, I'll show you some of the results that have happened on that. Okay. And it's been pretty amazing. So this is a young kid from Australia, Jason. Let me see here.
I see it, yeah. Oh,
okay.
That looks bad.
A week later, that's him.
A week?
Right? Yeah. And then this is a bare knuckle fighter. Look, all right?
Oh, yeah.
And then a week later, that's him.
Damn, that is miracle. This is miracle cream. They always joke about,
But also for major surgeries, this is my brother had stomach surgery, right?
Yeah.
And a week later, I got to show. Well, that's what it looked like without the tape, right? And then a week later, that's what it looks like.
It's like the whole, especially bruising, disappears completely.
Yeah. So when they asked me, I said, "Well, what proof do you have?" And then, well, that's what we called you. I said, "All right." And my marketing background is, let's go get some proof sources. So that's available too.
All right. Well, definitely don't take that to the UFC because they won't promote it.
No, they should though. They should because
they should. Yeah.
But let me tell you now.
They'll put their sticker on it.
PFL, Professional Fight League.
Yeah.
They bought 6 of them for their fighters for the last show. So I'm going to talk to Scott Coker, and I think it's important for them to have it available for the fighters because they're going to get cut. Yeah. And it does help the healing process, and it could help their career down the road. So, and it's also for plastic surgery, just for anything where you get cut. So
nice, awesome. Well, PFL, you got Clarissa Shields go make your debut soon. Keep us posted, and good luck. It was great to talk to you.
All right, man. Have a great day. All right, thank you. Also, let's do it again.
Yes, I'll be in touch.